The sheriff tasks me to do pretty much anything having to do with schools and education. Um, if we can start young enough and we can change the attitudes of kids, then we have a better opportunity to change the attitudes of adults. Um, you, if you give them an idea of what they're supposed to do, then they'll follow that idea generally. Now, granted, a lot of what we do is undone when they get home. We know that. So, what we do with the Great Summer Games is we carry what we teach in the school year into the first week of summer. It's kind of a different setting. The kids have the ability to do things that they don't have the opportunity to do ordinarily. And when you take a kid that has only seen the landscape of a city all the time and you put him on a river in a canoe where they are completely out of their element, they have to listen to you. So, that's what we do. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Benjamin Franklin. One of the biggest things about kids is school systems nowadays have no choice other than to teach to tests. And when you do that, you get kids that are unable to think laterally. So we involve them in things that they may not know, may not have had access to. We started out in 2009. It was developed about a 3-day camp. We worked on a budget of about $67 because that's what all the SROs had in their pockets together. So we had more officers and more helpers there than we had kids. But we kind of worked through it. Program is staffed completely by volunteers from the sheriff's office, the school system, juvenile court, and churches from around the area. Here's the thing. We do it at the Great Summer Games of Robertson County. That way, Robertson County Sheriff's Office name is not tied to it. The Robertson County Schools Board's name is not tied to it. And if we have youth pastors and ministers that want to come in and talk to these kids, we can. Considering that this is run completely by volunteers and that the money and all funds for this is all donations, we can kind of do a little bit more than what you could with just a regular summer program. We've had about 192 kids go through it now. Past summer's camp saw 53. We're shooting for 60 this year and probably will get it. We've actually opened it up to other middle schools within the county. We haven't heard much from them, but we have opened it up where they can nominate kids as well. This is a complete nomination for this. It either comes from juvenile court, it comes from guidance counselors, it comes from teachers. Any kid that's on the bubble that could benefit from hearing some positive or seeing some positive role models and hearing some positive things to do, those are the kids that we try to hunt for. We aim for the middle school age because 6th graders aren't 100% convinced yet that you're not going to eat them or that 8th graders are not going to eat them. 7th graders think that they know more than everybody else except for the 8th graders. And the 8th graders think that they're God until they become freshmen and find out otherwise. So we get them in that that mindset where their mind's not all like concrete, all mixed up and already set like high school kids. So we try to change them there. Program not only works on making good choices, but also healthy alternatives at low or no cost. Give them some hobbies to have instead of hanging out. Give them things to do instead of going out with their friends and getting in trouble. Because generally these kids, and the kids we're talking about are the kids that are on the bubble and all they need is a little push one way or the other to fall off that fence. It exposes kids to activities that I grew up in the dirt. I grew up in the woods. I grew up on the river. A lot of these kids have not had that opportunity. I stayed out of trouble just because A, I was too tired, or B, I was just doing something to keep my mind from thinking of something to get me in trouble. The program takes place outside, so the whole week we've got these kids running and moving so they're not sitting at home in front of their TVs playing their video games and things like that. Empowered kids make healthy choices. Healthy choices make healthy kids. Healthy kids make a difference. When you empower kids to strive to do better, you end up with contributing adults who pass what they have learned along to the next generation. It is said that it takes a village to raise a child, and that is what we believe, and that is what we were trying to do, whether it was the 14 kids we had the first time or the 55 kids we had the last time. Our village will help raise these kids. We try to not only give them ideas on hobbies and things, we try to take them places that they don't get to go. Mammoth Cave is one of our biggest trips. Everybody absolutely loved that, and we're actually going to be able to go back there this year. Cool part about it is the school board actually donates the buses for us to go. We just have to pay the driver. So the school gets involved, sheriff's office gets involved, local churches, local business leaders, because everybody has a stake in this. Because eventually these kids are going to grow up to be employees. And if they don't see any way of them improving themselves, they generally won't. TWRA actually comes out, they stock the pond, they bring fishing poles, they bring all of the worms and everything like that, and all those kids fish until every single one of them catch a fish. It's pretty funny, the girls are the ones who will actually put the worms on the hooks. The guys will not touch them. It's hilarious. Last year we had one, or the year before we had this huge catfish caught, and we're all standing around this one catfish. Well, out of the corner of my eye, I see a lot of movement in the corner of the pond where we were at. There was a little girl that was about this deep in the water. She had hooked into one of the grass carp out here at Travis Price, and it was pulling her into the water, and she wasn't going to let go. And we were worried about a little fish over here. We try to bring our own kids. My kids come with me. The other SRO kids come with me. We also like to involve kids that don't get into trouble. If you can model good behavior for someone else of your own age and your own peer group, you have a better opportunity to model that behavior yourself. Playing games. A lot of these kids don't get involved in organized sports because if you are in any of the big four, football, basketball, baseball, or softball, and you're not already involved in some kind of program, it's very hard to get into that. So we teach them about team concept, and we also bring out high school coaches from different high schools to teach them about different games that you can get into high school and you can start before high school is over. Golf coach comes out, wrestling coach comes out, volleyball. So we have a lot of different opportunities for these kids, not only with outside activities, but also to help them, give them something else to focus on in school, which generally keeps them out of trouble as well. For a lot of these kids in their neighborhoods, when people get together, it ends in violence, period. It doesn't matter if they started it or not, they are there and it will end in violence. Showing them that a group can get together and that they can be together without having an ending in violence also gives these kids something to look forward to and something to be able to do. We have our mounted patrol come out, fire, EMS. We actually had a bomb tech come out, and that was one of the coolest things. The kids just thought that was so neat because he ran his robot. He was picking up and throwing rocks with it. This guy's got a lot of extra time on his hands. He shook violently and had all of his fingers, so he must have been good at what he did. Our canine officer came out. Kane was able to keep our canine officer in check, which is what he generally happens. But we had a really good time. These kids being able to see us in something other than our uniform and being that officer, you make a connection with these kids where the kids begin to trust you a little bit more. And sometimes they trust you more than their actual family members. We have had kids turn their parents in for selling drugs because they believed what we were teaching and what we were doing was more important than what their parents were doing, and they believed us. Friday, the canoe trip is probably the absolutely most fun for everybody involved. The ability of the officers to come out and intermingle with these kids, and not just the SROs that they see every day. Our narcotics guys get out there. Our patrol guys get out there. If you look for any of the admin during this week, you're going to have to find them outside because they're out there too. This is something that was important enough for the sheriff and the chief and the captains and everybody involved that they get out and grill hamburgers for the kids. When we come about halfway down, they meet us on one of the shores and they grill hamburgers for the kids at lunch. And it's the sheriff and it's the chief and it is everybody involved. Even Ryan gets to come play with us sometimes, which he's the one that needs to get out of the office. So the canoe trip for these kids, when they get to see the things that they've either only seen in a book or only seen in pictures or only seen in line, and they make the connection that's out there. And you don't have to go far to do it because this is Red River, this is here. So we have the ability to do that, which is it is super cool for what all we do.